Hello friends and welcome to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video. This is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and today I have a very special video for you. I am presenting two things that I've wanted to present for at least a week and a half. Very excited about both of these. The first thing, and probably the main thing that I would like to do today, is present to you an interview that I had with Don McLaren. Now, Dan is a lead designer for EA and for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and I got to spend a few minutes with him today, talk about Rey and the new information, her new kit, and really get to know who he is. Really what I want to show you in this second part, and I'm really excited about this, and it's the thing that I think we've all been wanting to see, and it's what I like to call the E-Wampa. And that is an Ewok team with the Wampa. And looking at how this team performs in a Rancor raid. I love the Ewoks, I've made no secret of that, and as you listen to the interview, I hope you can at least find some enjoyment about these furry murder bears going off and taking on the Rancor. Now, this is a heroic Rancor. These Wampas and these Ewoks and the Wampa are completely G12. They are completely Zeted out as much as they possibly can. It was a really fun team to play, but I'll let that go ahead and play and begin with the interview. So if you have any questions, stay tuned to the end for some final updates. Now with that, I will go ahead and introduce Don McLaren, lead designer at EA and focusing on Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Don, welcome to the show. It is a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, likewise, dude, likewise.
So tell me, what area of the game, what part do you play in the design of a new character or a new game mode, or whatever? Just talk about your day-to-day.
So I am the lead game designer, and I oversee live operations. So I oversee all of the characters, the events, the content that goes out, the balance, that sort of stuff. So my day-to-day is basically figuring out what are we going to do tomorrow, what is on the plate today, quality checking everything, making sure design's on point, all that good stuff.
So you were the one that I needed to talk to about getting porgs introduced into the game.
I have a voice in that. Yes, sure, absolutely.
So right off the bat, what is the best way to put together Rey? In what team combination would you consider? Who would you run her with? Where would you run her? That kind of all of that together in one question.
So I'm not giving that away. So pretty much. One of the things that we do, and this is I was talked about this a little bit somewhere else, which is we walk a line, and the line that we walk is how much do we give away to the players? Meaning, how much do we tell you everything about a character? One of the things that's really important in the game is the puzzle of acquiring a character, and if that character is valuable enough to you, meaning that you look at this character and you say, like, yeah, there's some really cool features on them, I identified maybe with the character, or maybe I don't, but the character is neat, I want to try to figure out how to use this character. And that's kind of one of the things that we try when we release the Game Changer videos and the videos about character stuff. We try to show them in party compositions that represent what we think will ultimately be the best, meaning like it's a mirror of the best party composition that we've been able to find internally. But we don't necessarily want to just hand you the best party composition out the gate. I will say this, I gave this clue to somebody else and I'll give it to you. If you're not using BB-8 with Rey, you're probably going to fall short with her.
So one thing that I'm curious about, that I know a lot of other people are curious about, is this is our second Rey character. We have a couple of Hans, we have a couple of Kylos, we have a number of other characters, and we're going to get duplicates in the future. How did you differentiate when designing new characters between their abilities? How do you keep them fresh and keep them not imitating each other?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's actually a really good question, because that is something we deal with all the time, and a lot of that is all about identifying where that character is in the life cycle of Star Wars. So using Han as an example, right? You know, when we first meet Han and you get your first kind of like generic, you get Raid Han, that's early Han. That's the scoundrel. That's the guy who's like, yeah, I don't really have any affection for anybody but myself and maybe Chewie, and so everything that he does is all very, you know, solo. You know, like I'm Han Solo, and I go at this alone, kind of a thing. Whereas as you progress along the character path with him, we've tried to say like, all right, who was he when he was in the stormtrooper outfit? Right, he's obviously using a different gun. He's going to behave differently there. You know, who is he when he's on Hoth? That sort of stuff. So with Rey's actually probably one of the easier ones to kind of differentiate because she's going through a very clear growth process right now in which she starts out as very, very easy. And then, you know, she's like, she's new. She's a scavenger. She doesn't know how to do anything. She doesn't know what she's doing in the larger picture of things versus like who she becomes as we move into The Last Jedi, right? She's now going under Jedi training. She's becoming more confident. She knows who she is. So it's easier to kind of look at that kit and go like, cool, this is who she is in the beginning because this is all she has access to mentally and physically. And then here's what she has access to as she progresses down the Jedi path.
So then would it be safe to say that when you're designing these characters, you take into account the books, the comics, the TV shows that are going into this? I mean, it seems like there's so much that you can draw from. Do you pull from those sources, or is it just strictly the movies?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like the movies are a key source of information for the universe, for fans, right, in the universe. But the reality is that people who are really into Star Wars, it doesn't stop with the movies. Like I'm a fan of the books. I'm a big fan of the games. You know, I love digging into these things that I'm so fascinated by. So absolutely, we take into account. I think Thrawn's a great example, right? We read the book. A lot of us knew who Thrawn was ahead of time. You know, just from the Legends character that he used to be. And then watching Rebels and just what Lucas wanted to do with him. So yeah, absolutely. We take as much as is available to us at the time. We take that in and we make decisions about that character using all the information that we can.
So then do you have a favorite piece of canon, book, movie, TV show, obviously outside of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes?
So if we're talking canon, like what is canon currently under the Disney era of Star Wars, then my favorite is probably the Vader comics right now. Vader Down and Dr. Aphra and all that stuff. So good. So good. And Vader just looks like a freaking beast like he's supposed to. I mean, it legit took, so the end of Rogue One, and that last scene with Vader into the comic books is just like, that was the moment where I was like, yes, Vader has arrived and he is coming to wreck some faces. Like, he's a threat. And just the comic books did such a good job with that. If we're talking outside the current canon, Jedi Knight 2 is probably one of my favorite games. It's probably one of the best lightsaber games that was ever made. I loved Jedi Knight 2 Outcast. Such a great game. I think the games for me and the books, the old school books, really held a lot that you could just get into.
So in the development process, obviously there's things that come and go and elements that you'd love to see but had to cut for one reason or another. Were there any things that you left on the cutting room floor for this new Rey character that you wish would have been in there or that you would have loved to have seen in there? And what does that process look like as you guys are developing? What takes place when it comes to what stays and what goes?
Sure. So, I mean, when it comes down to the characters, there's always a lot of reasons why an ability does or doesn't make it. And that can be anything from, approval. Somebody just was like, I'm not really keen on that. It could be something that it doesn't fit we thought of something cool, but it doesn't actually fit the character, who that individual is, where they are at that timeline, at that point in the timeline, or just like, kit-wise, right? A lot of times you'll have the core kit concept outlined and you'll say like, okay, the theme around this is X and they're going to do these things. And then you come up with another, an ability and it does Y and it doesn't have synergy, or it exacerbates an existing synergy that takes it from being, all right, this is really cool. Oh my gosh, now she's overpowered. We have to cut that ability. So, I mean, it happens all the time. We definitely, there was a couple of abilities on Rey that we really wanted to bring forth, but for one reason or another couldn't make it happen, and so those definitely got cut. So I would say every major character, everybody who I would call significant in the universe, that has one or two or more things that just ended up on the cutting room floor.
So with the new Rey character, are there any new ability mechanics that you loved, you were glad that they kept in?
Dude, blocking healing immunity. Come on, man. It's like, good night, Xeris. Like, get out of here. It's cool because I don't think it completely eliminates Xeris from the floor, but it definitely brings her into check, right? She's extraordinarily powerful, and it's a good counter to her. And I think it's fantastic. I love that ability.
So if it were up to you, you had no one to answer to, what would you add to the game? What would you change about the game? How would you adjust it?
Oh, man. Gosh, what would I... More PvP and better PvP. I really have a love for PvP, and I want to continue to try to expand that area and give people more options and more consistency.
So one thing that gets asked a lot in interviews is, where do you see yourself in 1, 3, 5 years? Where do you see this game in 2 or 3 years?
Sure. So, I think the main goal is to continue to make this the #1 Star Wars game for players on a mobile device, right? No matter what comes out, what happens in the future, I sincerely hope that the things that we do and build and create for you guys continues to put people in a place where they feel like, dude, nobody offers the content that you guys offer. Nobody offers the value that you guys offer. Nobody gives me the chance to play with the characters that I want to play the way that you guys do, and gives me so many ways to use them. So it's a road of saying, like, okay, how do we correct the things that people aren't engaging with or don't feel happy about or don't feel like it fits the spirit of the game? But at the same time, how do we continue to do things that keep people feeling excited about Galaxy of Heroes and wanting to open the app and continue to play the game? So like, all of it is just focused on that. How do we just keep moving forward with the game?
So with that, can you actually talk about the quality assurance process, what it takes to really bring a game or a part of the game or a character from concept to creation?
Yeah, so I mean, there's several phases that it goes through, and it goes through a couple different QA groups. So when we're creating something, once the initial pass has been approved, and we do the first kind of iteration of the build, it goes straight into QA before we do anything else. So we just make sure that we've implemented it correctly, that it's working the way we documented it, and that there's no glaring, broken things. From there, it goes into a internal play testing process, in which we then start playing through it to make sure that it's an enjoyable experience, that it's following the design or not following the design, right? Sometimes you design something, you're just like, that was dumb, and now that I've built it, I clearly see that it was dumb, so let's make it better. And then once we get kind of through version 2 of it, it'll go back into QA, and it never really leaves QA. It's always kind of in QA, and every time we do an update, QA takes another pass at it. And when it's finally in a place where we're ready to start balancing whatever it is we finished, and it goes into the balancing phase, then goes to a smaller group of people that is like a balance group, and then the designers in this balance group work back and forth to make sure it's looking good. And then it goes, depending on what happens during the balance, if we make changes to a mechanic or an ability, it'll go back into QA to make sure we implemented the ability correctly and that sort of stuff. And then once the balance is done, it goes into kind of like a final live operation QA, where the live QA team then takes it and reviews it and makes sure, and then once they sign off, we put it out.
So one of the Game Changers asked this a couple of weeks ago in a video that she did, and it was a great question. I feel like it deserves to be asked again. What is your favorite moment in Star Wars?
Favorite moment in the Star Wars universe? Again, are we talking immediate canon, or are we talking new or old canon?
Either, both. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, mine probably, man, there's a couple of moments. I think the whole Mara Jade saga and Luke Skywalker, I really love. Thrawn is so dope in the old canon. Like, he is so dope, and that whole story, him just coming through, and it's so good. Like, I love Thrawn. Also, the original Old Republic is so good, and the reveal in Old Republic is just probably one of the best, most incredible moments, I think, in any video game I think I've ever played. So Old Republic, like I said, Jedi Knight 2, Outcast, super good story, super love that. Great lightsaber combat. In the new canon, it's still young and it's still fresh, so it's not as broad. So I think, actually, I think the last season of Clone Wars, not the one they chopped up and kind of, made fake season 6, but the proper one, the season 5 with Ahsoka Tano and Asajj Ventress and that whole kind of storyline, the way Anakin's kind of, you can see him shifting. So good. And actually, the best moment in that entire series for me, it actually happens early, I think like season 2 or season 3, where it is Mace Windu, Kenobi, and Anakin. They captured Cad Bane, and they're trying to get him to talk about, I can't remember what it was, like he had a bomb in the Senate building or something like that. And they tried to do a mind trick on him, and Cad Bane's like, that won't work on me, and basically Anakin's like, we can overpower him if we all do it, and Kenobi's like, no, that's not right, but he goes along with it anyway, and they wind up doing this like brutal mind trick on the guy to get him to talk. And I thought it was such a great reveal of who Mace Windu's character is and who Anakin is, and then you see this, like, for as great as Kenobi is, he's actually kind of spineless, and he kind of just goes along with things, and Anakin, it's at that moment you realize, like, kind of where Anakin is because, nobody really stood up and disciplined him. Yoda didn't do it. Kenobi had these opportunities but didn't do it. So one of my favorite moments in the modern canon. Really powerful.
Can you talk a little bit about what's to come with the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes? What's on the docket? Anything, any hints, any insight to give the listeners?
No, I can't talk about scheduling, but I can say that every character will eventually undergo love. We have a long game that's got to survive a long time, and a lot of characters, and so everybody will get a faction pass at some point. Everybody will get touched, and some people multiple times to keep them up into the reality of gameplay.
So that is all the time that we have. I would like to thank my guests for coming out and spending a few minutes with us, answering some questions for us. Thank you, Don McLaren, who is the lead designer for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Appreciate it, guys. Look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, you have a good one, dude. Thank you.
But that was my interview with Don McLaren, a EA lead game designer for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. It was awesome for him to be able to spend a little bit of time with me. These were just questions that I was able to come up with. What questions would you have asked if you were in my position? Leave a comment section below. I hope you liked seeing the Murder Bears go at the Rancor. For me, it was a lot of fun to put together, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Hopefully you got the same level of enjoyment. So leave a comment section below, subscribe, like, and share this video. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, stay nerdy.